Nonverbal communication is a weapon in everyone's possession. It's loaded and carried at all times, only for this weapon you don't need a permit. Recently, weapons, particularly firearms, have been feared. The weapon cannot do the damage on its own, however. It's the one who pulls the trigger, the user, who controls what the weapon does. The formal definition of nonverbal communication is messages expressed through non-linguistic means. That means spoken words, written words, and signed words do not fall under this category. There is always communicative value behind nonverbal communication, even if it's not intentional. Nonverbal behavior actually includes a wide variety of things. Gupta records sounds like laughing and grunting, ways of talking like pauses and intonation, posture, appearance, head movements, hand movements, eye movements, facial expressions, body contact, and closeness are all types of nonverbal communication. Anything you do not involving words is nonverbal communication. You use it every waking moment of your life, even sleeping moments such as nodding off in church or in film sessions. Researchers say that between 70% and 90% of the entire communication spectrum is actually nonverbal. Since it's something done every second, minute, and hour, it's interesting to realize that it has such an impact on how you're perceived as well as how others perceive you. Weapons are an identity. When you see a gun on someone's hip, it usually indicates some type of law enforcement or member of military branch. It's a type of identity or status. It's an immediate first impression, which is what nonverbal communication does too. Nonverbal habits are what define you and how someone would describe you. For instance, if you smile and laugh a lot, people remember that about you. If someone were to ask about you and how you were, the answer would probably be positive. Everyone knows that image is important to people today. Since appearance is considered nonverbal behavior, the way you present yourself impacts your identity as well. How you look, what you wear, and even levels of attractiveness are often the first judgments made about you. Even as unfair as that is, that's often the case. The most interesting part is nonverbal communication reveals who you truly are. For example, Gupta notes that frequent blinking of eyes refers to the likelihood of false or improper information. Firearms are often used with a goal in mind. Hitting a target in a shooting range, intimidating a violent criminal, or killing someone out of protection are all different ways that firearms are used. Nonverbal communication is similar in that way. If used cautiously and correctly after awareness and careful instruction, it can also help you attain a goal. It is most important to be aware of what you are saying, of what you are not saying when good first impressions are necessary or beneficial. Good impressions are important such as in new environments or when presenting to yourself to new people. It is a good idea to think about what kind of image you want to present, as well as what kind of image they are looking for when presenting yourself. Being aware of nonverbal communication is necessary for good leaders, in job interviews, or even to make new friends. Firearms should not be handled carelessly. Neither should nonverbal communication. Both can be harmful to yourself and others around you. The way you present yourself can severely damage another's self-esteem. Remlin did a study on how those in higher status, whether legitimate or imagined, dominate others with their nonverbal behaviors. This include kinesic, proxemic, and temporal norms. For kinesic norms, individuals who perceive themselves higher often do not pay attention to those who they view as below them. Concerning proxemic norms, leaders oftentimes keep their distance as if those below them were not good enough to get close to them. Lastly are temporal norms. This deals with how everyone on a higher status believe that those on a lower status are on their time and on their topic. People of higher status, of course, can have some of these behaviors and still be a good leader, or even just good friend. It's often even important in order to keep a good balance in order for those below you to follow your leadership. It's when someone takes advantage of another that it becomes damaging. Because nonverbal communication is weapon-like, it's important to be aware of it and the power it holds. Remember, it becomes your identity. It's a set of tools to help you reach your goals, but it can also be very harmful. In summary, be careful what you don't say.